episode of Starseed Activations. And so we just want to say thank you so incredibly much, everyone, for tuning in tonight. Thank you, dear Jody Powers, for tuning in and co-hosting with me. Welcome.
My pleasure. Thank you, Danielle.
Yes, absolutely a blessing to have everyone. Good. So we are going to start today with a gentle meditation just to recalibrate the energy of everyone. So everyone who's watching, of course, right? It's a retrograde. What are you going to do? Everyone, take a nice deep breath in and release with a and one more deep breath in. Thank you, dear star people, for this channeling tonight. Thank you so much for bringing the highest frequency information forward so it is in alignment with all of the people watching and their evolutionary processes. Excellent. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for joining tonight. Excellent.
Yeah, we have so many. Nikki is here. Cosmo Girl is here. Suki is here. Nancy, Laura. I saw Paige. So many people here tonight. So many familiar faces.
Nikki.
So tonight we're doing levels of attachment. And this in the book is actually 3 pages. Oh, I was just going to do that too. We were so on the same page.
This one is a proof copy, but you get the...
Yeah, you can see. So this is actually 3 pages, and you have, it's almost like a chapter in each page. And since this is 3, it might take one more live for us to do. So I'm not going to try to rush and cram everything in, but I will start with the first question.
Okay.
Could you please ask the star people, or you, if you can tell us what the difference is when the attachments attach to the soul or the energy of the physical body?
Okay, there's a big difference between that, because many times, in order for the attachment to reach the soul level, the attachment has to vibrate and has to have an impact on the physical material. So the individual would had to have gone through a cycle repeat over and over and over again and not been able to pull themselves out of that cycle repeat. When that happens, it then allows the attachment to imprint the soul, and then it cascades up with them. This is just how, from a human perspective, we can see it. This is not how it happens. The star people are saying it imprints the soul leaves, goes back up to like God or source. That attachment discharges, stays here in the 3D reality. When the soul form reincarnates, it takes on a new body, and then the door to allow that attachment to latch back on allows that type of attachment to latch on. It is not necessarily the same exact attachment. It is an energetic imprint. Yeah.
Okay, so that soul attachment is one that we're talking about, like ancestral karma, past lives.
Yes.
Would that be another way of saying?
Well, so not necessarily ancestral karma, because what that is your great-great-grandmother in the physical reality, she was imprinted, and then that filtered through the DNA down to your body today. Now, that could open the doors to allow for attachments to latch on, depending on what experiences she had, as well as when we're in the womb, we are imprinted with any and all emotions that the mother is having. So that's a physical perspective. The soul form getting an attachment is more like imprinting the actual frequency of the soul, which then in turn we see things like birthmarks. And so some people come in with like these crazy birthmarks, and it's like it's unexplainable from a human perspective as to why that person looks like they were burnt, and they were burnt in a past life. Now, the thing about being truly multidimensional is that at any given moment, as a child of light, which is what all of us are, and our true divinity activations, we are able to consciously go inside and change the frequency of the soul, which will resonate out and allow any birthmarks to seem as if they are spontaneously dissolving or disappearing, or we could vibrationally become in alignment with a parallel reality in which we never had that imprint to begin with. Yes.
So that's in this chapter as well, how to go in there, how to remove these attachments and everything else.
Yes.
So Noreen says, I was burned in a past life and have a huge birthmark on my left arm. Yeah, I was just going to say this. In my sessions, one in particular, there was a birthmark on this gentleman on his back. And of course, we go and he was stabbed in the back.
Yes.
So it's not ancestral karma. He was the one who was stabbed.
Yes.
So that is the soul attachment.
Yes.
So what is supposed to happen in the hypnosis session is once he acknowledges that,
yes.
relives it, and we didn't want to tell me how that works.
You don't have to. It's like even when I release attachments off of people, I don't need to know the memory. You don't have to relive the memory. We just need the emotion codes. And so think about it from a scientific perspective. Fear and excitement, it's the same exact feeling inside of your body. We call it different things. So the memories are triggering different emotions, but many times some of the emotions are the same in a positive and negative. It feels the same. So we don't need to know the memory. We just need to know what emotions that you have to that memory. So this is
how do you know what emotion it is if you don't feel it?
Well, it's because you don't have to dive into the memory to feel. So you can feel, how does your body feel? Oh, my body feels achy or tired or this or that. I didn't have to pull a memory to feel it. I just felt it in the body, and now I know the emotion codes, and now I can release it.
You just need to recognize it, not go through, not re-traumatize yourself and go through the trauma again.
Many times as well, here on Earth, we have books. And so if you're having like a pain in your shoulder, that's correlating to an emotion code that also correlates to like an essential oil. So we can take it from many different perspectives. We can have a look at the hands or the bottoms of the feet, and then we can start to pull apart where there's energy imbalances in your field. And then we start to pull apart, well, if it's affecting, say, the sacral chakra, we see extreme fears, a loss of passion. We see urinary tract imbalances in that chakra system. So we can pull it from... we could pull it from the emotion codes, or we could pull it from what organ is imbalanced, or there's many different ways of identifying the emotions. In time, we'll be doing this from the heart, and it won't matter because it'll be more like instantaneous healing. But this is a baby step process. So.
Baby step process. We've got a good group, though. It seems to be ascending rapidly.
Oh, yeah.
So
I see it, too. I see all the people around me are leveling up very, very quickly.
Yes.
We have
like it almost felt like, I'm going through the question. If you see one that you want to, the birthmark.
Match the constellation in the sky.
Yeah.
And so that one's really important. Yeah, it's really important because I have a triangle, and inside my triangle, it's 3 freckles. There's a dot in the center. And so whenever I look at it, I always feel like, oh, that's a pyramid with the fire in the middle. And so, but yes, certain, it doesn't necessarily have to be a birthmark. It can be a birthmark, but we can get freckles or moles in certain constellations. And that's always something that you pre-plan to manifest in this life to give you a type of remembrance to look up at that solar system or that planetary system. Yes.
I love that. Yeah. So Heather asks, if you have a near-death experience, you die and come back in the same body, can that discharge a soul attachment? And she says but I wonder,
it's a full range.
How frequent are soul attachments, really?
Well, to a degree, they're kind of
Yeah.
frequent. It really
Okay.
depends. So we talk about the more extreme ones, but it's any cycle that we can't overcome. A cycle can be something as simple as having an attachment to coffee. Now, all of a sudden, I know it sounds simple, but in your next life, it may not be coffee. It's something else that you're attached to. And that's because you never overcame that attachment in this lifetime. Now, we use the word attachments from a physical perspective as if we're attached to an actual item. It doesn't matter what item. If you're attached to an item, that item becomes an attachment. But attachments are energetic beings that literally latch onto your field, and they pulse and trigger different emotions to trigger you, because that is how they kind of feed off our energy fields. When we start to clean the attachments off of the field, we'll start to notice people gurgling in their belly. They'll start choking. They'll start, there's all sorts of biological responses. If they had a headache, the headache turns off. If their arm hurt, the arm stops hurting. So the attachments can generate real biological pain. And the second we start to clean them all off, it's a very clean, energetic feeling. And it feels like you are remembering who you are the second that the attachments are off of your field. It's like a level up. So I encourage everyone to do it. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it does make sense. We're really like showering. So if you've been working all day and your hair is wild, you're dirty, your clothes are all yucky, and then all of a sudden you're washing, you're shedding, and then you're like, there I am, I'm back. This is energetically cleansing.
Yes. And well,
Yes.
when you remove all of the density from your field, it is like a pure light. And pure light feels like unconditional love. And who doesn't want to experience that? That's something that we all strive for. And that's something that our fears, our traumas, or everything that we've gone through in this lifetime, it stops us from feeling unconditionally loved. This is why a lot of times people put up a heart shade, because they're afraid to let people in because they don't want to get hurt. That's a blockage in your energy, because you're not allowing yourself to feel love. So the more we can start to heal ourselves, the brighter we shine. And then all of a sudden it allows us to tune into the higher frequency realms. It's beautiful.
So they just gave me an image. If anyone out there needs an image to think about this, is the clouds in front of the sun.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Once we can move the clouds, and then I think of you like going, we can dissipate those clouds. We can look at them and intentionally focus on them. That's what we're doing here.
Well, the next day,
when the sun can shine in, right?
After leaving your house, the next day I had sunshine. And then not only that, well, it was partial sunshine, but when the partial sunshine came out, I was like, oh, well, it's sunny and it was raining, so thank you for a rainbow. And I didn't see a rainbow at all. And then all of a sudden there was 2 rainbows in the healer's text message box. So
beautiful.
Synchronicities is what it is. And the second that we open our hearts and we just allow these things to come to us, we start to see them. It's very similar to seeing the 222 or 1111 on the clock. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Right. But the huge rainbow on a grand scale, I mean, that was hard to miss, and that was so beautiful. So we also have, what is the difference between shadow people and archons?
So the archons are usually considered reptilian in their nature. However, there's multiple shadow people. So there is a type of attachment here that's here by mistake. And they just got pulled through a dimensional rift, and they are stuck in this reality. And because of that, they have to get their energy from us. This is another reason why we treat them as if they are connected to the source frequency, and we don't cast love and light at them because it could potentially harm them. The archons, on the other hand, there's a lot of information on the internet. The star people don't really want me touching that topic because it generates a lot of fear. And part of me is an encyclopedia on that. I'm like, well, it's not really, it's too much fear-based. The important thing to recognize is that when we start to raise our frequency, they can't see us, whether they're shadow people, archons, or just regular attachments. The beings cannot see us. So the main goal is kicking the attachments off of the energy field and then really raising our frequency.
So we just covered one paragraph, and I'm going to read it. So as a review, there are many different multidimensional beings that may be considered an attachment. Some of these are attached to the soul, while others attach to the energy of the physical body in this reality. Shadow people are one such being, and archons are another.
Yeah.
But there are multiple different species that may attach in a wide variety of ways.
Yes.
And they are unable to attach if we are high frequency and we get rid of the clouds, we get rid of those energies, we stop our cycle repeats.
Yes.
Okay.
That's 100% correct. All of that.
Thank you. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, there was only one sentence of me just summarizing. The rest is from the book.
Okay.
A healer may clear an attachment. However, the body's frequency must be properly attuned in order to not re-manifest attachments onto your grid. And that makes so much sense. Like you can go and you can do a cleanse, you can do a juice cleanse, you can cleanse everything. If you go to some fast food place or whatever, then is it the cleanse's fault that you don't feel good?
No. It's the second that we clear all the attachments, but the second that you trigger that emotion, it opens the door to allow them to latch back on. Now, I personally, I've witnessed this. I've seen it sometimes. And, you know, when we have these childhood traumas, it's important to recognize we have to tell the attachments, get off and go home. But then we have to unpack the emotion. And unpacking the emotion looks like I'm okay having that experience or experiencing. That's okay too. And then when we do that, we send that memory or even that emotion code, the opposite emotion. So if we're feeling sad, I want you to just feel and express the emotion code of happiness. And just imagine sending that happiness into your body to transmutate the sadness. So when we do that, we master that emotion code so we no longer need to experience it because it's like, check, that one's done. Next. That's how we go about the healing. If we cannot fully neutral the emotion code, this is how you'll know. So you close your eyes, you go inside, you summon the emotion of, let's say, sadness. How does that sadness make your body feel? Is there any tension? Is there any tightness? Is there any part of you that feels like a headache or low or you're feeling down? What emotions, what does your body feel? Really, and write it down, make an entire list. And then neutral it. I love and bless my body. So you're adding the light into the system. Take the deep breath in and out, and then summon a emotion code again. Sadness. Now, how does it make your body feel? Is there anything still inside? Do you feel anything? If you don't feel anything, usually it's cleared. But we also want to go through reprogramming. So many times, if we have a memory and that memory is too traumatic, or it really hit us hard, what we do is we do the same steps. We neutral it, we send it love and light, but then we reprogram the emotion codes. So now you summon that memory and you go inside and you say, I am thankful and grateful for the opportunity to learn from that memory. And so you're energetically casting that emotion at the memory. So now you, once again, you 0 point out, you take the breath in and out, summon that memory. If you feel happy and grateful for that memory teaching you, then you know that you just transmutated the emotion code. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I say that a lot, or find myself saying that a lot lately is, I can't wait to get to the neutral point in this.
Yeah.
You know, I know it's going to come. I know it's going to come. And thank you to the star people for giving us these tools with which to work.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And so not only that, but when you reach a certain perception and it's like you start seeing them and you start identifying your attachments as well as other people's attachments right away. Because it's like these things, they craft our entire life. And we don't realize this. But if you took your day and you microed every single second of time, and then you really, it's like saying, if you had a brainwave reader to put on your head and you were able to see on a piece of paper all of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you were running, you would be able to start identifying, oh, these are the negative emotions. These are the attachments. Get off, go home, neutral out the emotions. Well, the second that we become really, truly aware of the attachments, you start to see it from that perspective. It's wild.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So how do we prevent a remanifestation is doing exactly what you just said. The cycle repeat and manifestation is kind of the same thing, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Same thing. Yeah.
Okay. So we have to attune our body's frequency, and you give us a whole bunch of things that we can do to attune our bodies. But then in here it says a magnet may be used. A magnet may
Yes.
be used to remove them, tapping into the subconscious mind, Reiki energy, or many other healing modalities. We haven't talked about the magnet in a while. Would you review that?
So we have an emotion grid, which is magnetic in its nature.
Mm-hmm.
And when we utilize an actual magnet, we utilize the north and the south poles of the magnet. Now, the human energy field, the top of your head is the north side, the bottom of your feet is the south side. Mm-hmm. When we utilize a magnet, we want to take the magnet down the south side first, which it takes all the energy and it pulls it out of the meridians and ley lines. Then we want to reverse the magnet, use the other side, so that we're pushing energy into the field. Mm-hmm. When we do that, it has a direct impact on the emotion grid. That emotion grid, all of the emotions, it is magnetic in its nature, which is how we magnetize experiences to us. Yes.
So do you have a certain, like a literal magnet, type of magnet that you use?
Yes, I have, well, my father gave them to me. They're really tiny, but very powerful. Okay. I had them at the retreat because sometimes I use crystals in my healing gloves. Sometimes I just put the magnets in. The magnets are very strong. It's a very push and pull. Yes.
So when you say put the magnets in, you mean in your gloves?
Yes. Yes. So when and one side I do the north, one side I do the south. So that when I put the gloves together, they should magnetize together. And then I pull them apart and then I wave them over people's bodies. And so that, and you do wax on, wax off, because you want to get the south first and then you want to get the north. And then what it's doing is it's cleansing their emotion grids. Now, if they have pain anywhere, you take these gloves and you wash it over the pain. If you're pulling the south, that memory of that painful trauma may come to their mind. Or at least the emotion code, because now it's like you're pulling that emotion code out of their biological form, which allows them to really tap into the memory or even the emotion to clear it. Okay. It's amazing. It's like, this is how strong we are. And all of the cures are always cheap, easy, and free. That's it. If anything is too complex, it's like, it's not in alignment. It has to be easy and free for everyone. Right. That's how powerful a consciousness is.
So what I saw with my own eyes this weekend was so powerful and so wild and so beautiful. The healing abilities that you have using your body, your mind, a magnet, crystals, possibly your necklace or your chain that you were wearing. Do you have that on or no?
Well, I do, but it was really just me. Because in time I took the gloves off, right? And I just started doing it with my hands. It's we are all energy projectors. And so the more each and every one of us can consciously focus on casting our energetics and even sensing into other people's fields, that's going to allow us more access to grow and develop that ability. So every one of my ascension sessions, before even picking up the Zoom, I sit down for 15 minutes and I really dive in and I feel into their energy grids. And then I look at all the densities that they hold. That's part of my sessions. And so do that for a year and a half, 2 years. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I know how to look into people's fields and I know, how to clean it and all sorts.
Yeah, it really, really was magical. And definitely I was meant to see it firsthand to believe it. That's how it has to go. So it was beautiful. Somebody was having an asthma attack and I'm running around getting them inhaler. And by the time I come back down, they're like, no, she's fine. She's sitting there breathing. Fine. I'm like, okay, this is so real.
Asthma attack is the flow of the heart chakra going into a reversal. So normally our hearts are supposed to broadcast the energy out. And whenever we start to notice an asthma attack, it's because the spin, the flow, glow, spin did a slight, it's not a full reversal. Otherwise it would be no good, but it's like it slowed down the front and it started pulling more out the back. when that happens, we feel this pressure sinking. This is why people like shrunk forward when they are sad or they have a heart chakra shade, because the heart chakra starts pulling it to the back, and it makes it so you can't breathe because the lungs are right next to the heart chakra.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've learned so much like this weekend, trying really hard not to swear, trying really hard not to cross my hands over like this, even if I'm cold. Like, you've taught us all so much in such a short period of time. And then the other thing is, I didn't put this out on this first one, but I will on the next one, that we probably shouldn't be drinking or smoking or doing any of those things, because in paragraph 3, it says, drinking is well known to attack spirits onto your field and should be considered separate for these purposes. So they're not going into drinking here, but it's also calls attention to, it's just well known. It's like, we can talk about it somewhere else, but you just need to take this as fact. Most of these attachments are with you for life.
Unless you clear them, really. Or unless some of the lower grade attachments, like the light ones, when we raise our frequency, they can't see us and they need to eat, so they discharge. The heavy hitters, like the death attachments, they latch on and they're in there deep. It's like a tick. So we have to go through and we have to summon up their names. And there's multiple names. The star people have me channeling like a whole book on attachment names. And so, and one at a time, we start discharging them. But there's no need to worry if you guys can't get the name, because you just have to ask your higher self. The higher self will give you the attachment's name. And then watch. It's so weird because you'll clear the attachment. And if you're still holding on to that emotion code, you'll see that attachment messing with your life. And so the attachment will, like, if it's like, I tripped, or trippity trip, that's actually an attachment. Get off, go home. But trippity trip. If you clear the attachment and then all of a sudden the next day you notice that you trip, you know that he latched back on. So you have to stop what you're doing and tell him to get off again. And then that means you have to go inside and neutral out the emotions. Okay, I'm okay. I'm at peace with having the experience of tripping. And then I send myself love and light for tripping. Thank you for the experience. That's it. Come out of a light-hearted place. And then it closes the attachment door. Many times we rub the hands and we go, I love and bless my body. So we seal all of the attachment doors so that they can't latch back on.
Right. Yeah. Love that. So it says every disease is linked to an attachment as well. So in the comments, I hear somebody talking about migraines, and one of our very good friends has migraines too. And she's a starseed and has all kinds of gifts and whatever, but these migraines persist. So every disease may be linked to an attachment, for there is a change in the auric frequency when these types of experiences manifest. Now it says, when the frequency is off tune, it will provide a hole in the energy field, which will then allow for experiences like this to manifest. More cycle repeats.
Yes.
Through that hole.
So many times we can clear the headache. In Noreen's case, Noreen is the commenter here. I was able to help her clear her migraines and throw the attachment off. And because we were able to trigger every single emotion code, that's why her migraines healed. Some people, they have multiple emotion codes running that generate the migraine. And so it's like, we have to sit there and we have to go through all of the emotions in that location. What memory comes into your mind, no matter how much you don't think. I have an attachment that just latched on to me. It's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. That's his name. So I'm just going to say, get off and go home. You can't make this up. Like, it started scrambling me. Jeez. When you start talking about them, right? It's like, sometimes they come. I sense into your attachments, people. It's so much fun. Yeah. But when we're dealing with like the migraines, we have to go in and get every single emotion code to fully allow it to discharge, and then the migraine disappears. If there's too much emotion code, or like the trauma is very severe, it takes extensive. It's like therapy, right? And so we have to go through and release all of the emotions. What if the emotions is very traumatic? You have to go through it multiple times in order to heal. That's okay too. So we throw the attachments off. We salt water bath because it cleanses the field. We love and light the body. and then we do a little more tomorrow.
Yes.
That's it.
And it does take time. Like I mean, to me, they're miracles. Like what I saw you were performing miracles in my eyes. That's what it looked like. Right. And so there are somebody would say, well, you didn't get rid of my migraines or, whatever, but they're very complicated and it takes a long time, but
it's not even complicated. It's not complicated at all. We just need to know every emotion code that attachment is feeding off of. Sometimes there's what the star people call spider attachments. And so just go with this. We have magnetism and electrical systems. And so this is your chi energy systems, and your magnetic is your emotion codes. They intertwine like this. Okay. So when we start to see an imbalance, now we also have feminine and masculine energies. Mm-hmm. When we see a spider attachment is 8 legs. That means it's 2 X's. So each X is an imbalance in, say, your magnetism, and then the second X is an imbalance in the electrical systems. Okay. And then it looks like a spider because it's the 2 X's overtwining itself. That's how you see it in the astral. Now, when we start to see a spider attachment, sometimes because there's 4 lines connected to the spider attachment, it can be latched in chakra systems. These are a little bit tricky because now all of a sudden we're talking about 8 different emotions that person could potentially have fired to that one attachment. So
and different locations.
In different, like one of the legs could be attached, and this is when normally when we start to see meridian imbalances, there's usually a spider attachment that like latches onto this one, and then another piece of the attachment latches onto, like, say one's in the pineal gland, the second one is in the heart chakra, one's in the solar plexus, one's in the root. Spider attachments do this, but it's intertwined. Okay. So some is in the masculine, some is in the feminine energetics. This is just how it works. So now we have 8 emotion codes to clear for one attachment. So the easiest way to do this is, what is your scariest moment that you've ever had, or your most traumatic memory? Dive into that. Let it come into your mind. Or ask the higher self, thank you, higher self, for giving me a memory or all of the emotion codes for the spider attachment. Just let the person, if you're a practitioner, just let them talk and write it all down real quick. That's what I do during my attachment release sessions. I keep a list. Give me all of the emotion codes that you got. I write it all down as quickly as possible. And then once you've gotten it all out, we go through each one and clear them. This way we get the whole attachment off. And so many times with the spider attachment, we'll knock 2 or 3 legs off and there's still 1 leg left. And then it's like, okay, we have to go back in and rebalance and clear it. And then a lot of times too, if someone has an attachment that they feel like they're choking to death, right? They may feel hands lift off of their throat. Like these attachments, the star people have given me a visual representation of certain attachments as well. Some of them are very dark. Some of them are on the lighter side. Like we see hair loss attachments. Those are pretty funny. But then we see the dark ones. And then, I think you may have even heard me reference to, that person has a dark one on them. The dark ones are like the heavy hitter attachments. So death attachments, drug use, alcohol, all of those. And we want to always, this is how we also see alcoholics. And they go 40 years without drinking a drop. The second they have 1 drop, they fall off the wagon. That's because they fed the attachment. They never cleared it. That's how this works. You have to clear the attachments, and then it stops. The cycle repeats. Yeah.
Wow, that was a lot. What are your thoughts on? I don't know what egregores are. There are thought forms which are said to egregores. Okay. Okay. They are said to gain power and sentience through the energy from individuals or groups through belief and attention paid to them.
Yeah, so a thought form, any word that you want to give it, because there's multiple words for those. Okay. This is true. The power of our consciousness, I could like just for an example, if one of us was to sit in a room and meditate and believe with your heart that you are sitting there staring at another, it's like let's say a duplicate body of yourself. That's a thought form. You can actually manifest them, but there's side effects and there's consequences to summoning that type of stuff. So just be careful when you dive down past, like, that's like a private conversation. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Be careful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then this says that there are attachments, mental body attachments and emotional body attachments. And the mental body attachments are from events, and the emotional body attachments are from emotions.
Yes.
Are they cleared the same way?
Yes. So just imagine one is your chi energetic system, or your masculine energy. It's electrical in its nature, and some are more magnetized. They're magnetic in their nature. So some are the thought form attachments, which are the electrical ones. They scramble your mind. They do ADD, right? Those little guys are buggers, because if you're trying to sleep, you could have a million thoughts running in your mind. I didn't do this. I didn't do that, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And that's all a thought form attachment. Those attachments can also make you lose your keys, and they think it's funny, right? And so you walk around the house and you look for your keys for 2 hours, and then it's sitting right on the table where you left it. That's because they scrambled your mind so that you were unable to see the keys. That's what happened.
Right.
The emotional ones, on the other hand, they're more emotional. And so what happens when your emotions get triggered? It's like, oh my God, right? That's how it feels. Your emotions get triggered. So it's,
and you say, oh, you can't think straight.
Well, the can't think straight thinking is electrical. Your emotion, you can't think straight anyway. When your emotions are fired up, right? Sometimes your emotions can cripple you.
Yeah. Sure.
Yes.
Okay. So this says, question, what would knee pain be? A form of attachment? And I'm going to let my dog in while you answer that question.
Yes. So knee pain, that always deals with mobility and being able to, it's like shift around in the hologram so that it's like your location ring. So when we start to see knee pain, it means that our ability to travel far and wide is being restricted. So this also goes for the entire leg system. You want to have a look at which leg is it? Is it on the right, on the left? On the right is your masculine energetics. So your masculine energetics is how you cast energy into the world. Your feminine is your emotions. And then you want to have a look at, you just close your eyes and feel into the knee pain, because it's more important to clear the attachment than it is to know the why. What emotion comes into your awareness when you put your awareness inside the knee? You can summon the emotions or you can summon the memory. Think back to the first moment that you ever had the knee pain. That's the imprint. And so you go back into that moment and you ask yourself, how did I feel when the knee pain first came? And then all the emotions, you write them down, and one at a time, get off, go home, get off, go home. And then I'm neutral with all these emotions, and I send it love and light. You may need to dig one step further for you personally, the star people are saying, and really dive in and ask for the memory, because the memory has multiple emotion codes running for you in specific, the star people are saying. Okay. Yes.
And sometimes the memory, you might have to be in a semi-conscious state or a hypnotic state to kind of reach.
No. You close your eyes, you take a deep breath in and out, and you say, thank you, higher self, for giving me the memory. Blank your mind out. The first thing that comes into your mind, that's it. That is it.
And don't doubt it. Now, what if people can't connect to their higher self easily? I mean, isn't there something where you have too many attachments and you can't connect?
Yes, there is. However, it's always your intuition. And even if you're running a ton of attachments, imagine it, because your imagination is your higher self. So you take a pen and paper and you just ask. And the higher self is always listening to you, because you are the higher self. You're a fractal of that higher self. So just ask a question. Thank you for giving me the emotion codes that I need. And then just, even if you're pretending, write the emotion codes that make you feel uncomfortable on a pen to paper. And then one at a time, start focusing on those. Go into your memory. When is the first time that you felt uncomfortable? When is the first time that you felt stuck? Or like if it's knee, when's the first time that you felt like you couldn't go out? Maybe you didn't have money, you couldn't leave the house. Things like that we want to look at when it's in the legs. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
So we know you always are talking about how powerful we are. And when we're talking about these attachments, I feel like coming back around to not having fear about these attachments, because we are literally in control of these. Everything that I've said, like, don't you need hypnosis, or do you need a magnet, or do you need the gloves? These are all tools that can help. But
Yes.
when it comes down to it, the more you practice and the more connected you get, and you need your imagination, apparently. And you need these tools that are get off and go home. And somebody asked earlier, what is home for them? Do you want to answer?
Yes. So we have the source frequency, which is light, and then we have the
Mhm.
void, which is darkness. There is an
Mhm.
area between our realm, the 3D realm, in between the source is here, and then below our feet is darkness. And so these attachments, they belong below our feet. So they have families, they have children, they have civilization, they go to meetings, they go to school, whatever they do, they have a whole life. So we don't want to send them love and light because it kills them. And we don't want that karma on our hands. What we do want to do is we want them off of us, and we want them to get out of our homes. So get off and go home so that
Go to your own.
it takes them. And you guys, you can call in the angels, you can call in your own guides, you can call in ascended masters or the star people. And you could just ever so humbly ask them, thank you for taking the attachments home. Thank you for helping me to clear them and to learn and to grow and step into my true power. And so when they go home, many times they discharge off the bottom of the feet, so your soles of the feet, and then they get cast back down. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they release off you, and then you find them on your neighbor the next day, and you're like, I just cleared that one. Yeah, so it happens though, right? Because get off and go home means get out of my house. So that's
right. And it's not your responsibility where they go. Just go home.
Just
right.
go home, go away. So
go home, go where you belong. And it reminds me when you were talking about the Merkaba and the spin and the counter spin, and you're like, you know what? You don't even have to think about which way to go. Just say spin the right way. So this is kind of on the same wavelength as, listen, you don't need to worry about where they go. Just tell them to go home. That's
well,
your
because
concern.
If they latch on to another person, that other person had an opening in their star field, which is how they're able to latch on to us. So it's each and every one of our responsibilities to do the work and to love and light the body and dive into our emotions and really not let the emotions rattle us too much. And any emotion that does rattle us or trigger us, it's our responsibility to dive into the emotion and see, why does this bother me? And then heal.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So we're on the second page, actually, which is really big. So there are 3 different types of attachments. One that projects thoughts into your mind and triggers low emotions. 2, a partial attachment, which controls the body at times and manipulates your actions. And 3, a full attachment. The soul disconnects at this level and the human's eyes look blank. At this point, your consciousness is a blank slate and attachment is in full control.
Yeah.
So that's
a full-blown possession, is what we would call the third level of the attachment, is like a full-blown possession. The second level, that happens to so many of us when we drink too much, we black out and we don't remember. That's the level 2. So you were taken over by an attachment for that experience, and then you sobered up, and then it discharged off you. But it left that some of them don't discharge. Some of them stay, and they try and continue to trigger you to drink and drink and drink. This is what alcoholism is. If you didn't have the attachment latched onto your field, you wouldn't have the impulse to pick up a bottle of whatever. So
you'd never have that in the first place.
Yeah. And the first level is what we have with all the emotions, right? It latches on, it triggers the emotions. It's not really possessing us. It's triggering the emotion, and it changes our perception, and it does guide or alter our manifestations. Yes.
Yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit more, how it guides our manifestations?
Sure. So, and this is like, this is something that I personally have witnessed. So if someone utilizes a negative word and is cast at you, like, we'll just take the word stupid. And so that's a baby word. Now, if someone uses a heavy duty emotion and calls you that word, now all of a sudden, over the next couple of days, you're going to find yourself in positions in which you feel stupid. And that's because the attachment is toying with you, so to say. So when we know this and it's like, oh, well, they called me that, and now I'm having this experience. And so you clear the attachment, you neutral out the emotion. Sometimes these, depending on the strength or level of the casting, so how angry the person was when they called you this name, that imprint can run deep, and then it may take a couple days to clear. That's energy casting. I don't think that that's even in the book, but that's also a part of the attachments. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a big holiday coming up, if anybody knows. And what about family attachments? What should we do, or what can we do, or what is the guidance from the star people before we enter these spaces?
There is no guidance. You enter the space with love in your heart because you love your family. Any attachments that you get are things that you're meant to overcome. Every single emotion code must be overcome to fully step into 5D. We have to master all of the darkness. And that's just it. We have to do it. We have to do the work, and we have to neutral out the emotions. So many times we don't have to have the trauma to neutral out the emotion. It's just like, okay, that happens. I'm at peace with it. And that right there, it's okay. I send them love and light. I didn't go through the experience. I'm neutraling out those emotions through witnessing their experience. Do that.
Okay.
Right. And then you do this and if you notice anything change in your life, many times if you're around toxic family, you may feel drained. And so you always want to sit down, saltwater bath after the experience, and then dive in. What emotions did you feel while you were there? Now, their location, wherever you guys are meeting up, if you're meeting up at someone's house too, the house may also contain attachments. And so it's very important to pay close attention to your emotions and feelings while in a location. Yeah, it's beautiful.
That makes sense. And so you were reminding us and saying, listen, if your knee hurts, they're telling you in this particular case with a knee or some significant injury or disease, you need to dig way down there, because as big as that injury is, that's how big the attachment is. That's how big the emotion or emotions are.
Yes.
If we can kind of think of, listen, diving into your childhood house, maybe, or your in-laws' house or something, if that's not an opportunity, I don't know what is. And half the time, you know how you're going to feel before you go in there anyway. So why not just be prepared for that and say, okay, this is the year I'm going to neutralize it all.
Yeah. Yes.
You know?
Yes. Because if you can
right on
even
cue.
you can even cast your consciousness into the future, and you can see yourself in that environment, and you can encode the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you're going to have while you're in there, which then in turn, when you come out of that meditation, you end up manifesting it.
Okay.
Space is an illusion. So we manifest.
Okay.
You know how they tell you, oh, the athletes, they close their eyes, they visualize themselves working out.
Yes.
It gives the body the same response. So do that
Yes.
for the future. You visualize your future, you manifest it. That's how powerful and multidimensional we are. So we should be doing this the first 15 minutes of the day and the last 15 minutes while going to sleep. Shut all the electronics off and close your eyes and visualize what it is that you want to manifest. This is also the dream walker ability, because during dream time, certain individuals who have that attunement, they can dive into the dream and then they can start the manifestation process there. And when the soul enters the body, their magnetism changes, which allows them to manifest that future that they were encoding into their grids.
I'm so excited to work on that. Yeah. So Nikki says, wait until after the holidays to do attachment releases to avoid accidentally triggering family members. What do you think about that?
I think it's good to do it before. And so many times, if we have attachments on us, I see them as like, sometimes I see it as the creepy crawlies. And so if you have these attachments on you, all of a sudden you go in the presence of someone who's a lower frequency, your attachments could get triggered. So, but then again, we should constantly be working on the attachments, because if you guys felt what it feels like to be clean energetically and to truly have the attachments removed, you feel like $1,000,000. You feel like you have a ton of energy. You can run up and down the hallway. You can do amazing things. Your house is clean. Everything is wonderful. And that's just from cleaning the attachments.
Right.
You should keep doing it until you feel that way.
Right. And if you say, well, I'm too tired to do the energy attachments, you can say, I'm too tired, get off and go home.
Get off and go home. Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't even tell you how many times in the last month or so, or years, I should say, but can you please zap me with some energy today? And if we don't ask, not talking about attachments and releasing them, but bringing in some good ones. Are there good ones? Are there good ones?
Yes. So that's another thing.
What are they called?
The star people, they call the attachments messengers. And so we have the dark messengers, which we call the attachments. That's specific, so we don't freak people out. The Bible calls them demons. But then we have the light messengers. The light messengers are encoded with the feelings of unconditional love, joy, bliss, truthfulness, compassion. And so the second that we go inside and we start to hold and resonate those positive emotions, we end up getting one of those angels latching on to us. And we know this because the Bible tells us this too. It's like, oh, you have an angel of protection on you because you summoned them. Nobody tells you that you can summon the angels. They just say you pray to them. But this is what it is. But you have to feel the emotion code to allow the angel to magnetically become in alignment with your field. Many times, not to say anything about the churches, because that everyone has their own perspective on it. Many times in certain churches, not all of them, the angels do hang out there. They hang out there because of us, because the people who walk into the church who are praying and who are getting into that spirituality mentality. So a lot of times I personally have noticed people who go worship every Sunday. I've walked into their house, not the church, but when I walk into their house, it feels blessed and protected. And so anyone who feels really low on the frequency scale, go sit in a church while there's no one talking and just sit there and try and meditate and see how you feel after you do that a couple times a week. It couldn't hurt you.
True.
You're sitting alone. You're not listening to anybody talk or preach,
And it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to believe everything that church believes in, just the space.
Yeah, it's just
your own
space. Right? We're using the frequency of your space. Thank you guys for raising the frequency. I'm going to come and sit and get my zen.
That's right.
This is why they used to have bells. And the bells, this is why we ring a bell to release all the dark spirits. So a lot of the dark attachments, we ring a bell, or we do the singing bowls. And then all of a sudden it clears the attachments. Some of them, not all of them, but a lot of them will get off of you and go home when you're ringing a bell. And so when I was going through my transition in 2019, the universe put me next to a train and a church bell. So if you're up in the morning, it's like ding dong.
Who doesn't like church bells?
Yes. Everybody
honestly
likes them. Everybody.
I think so. It's like, I don't know.
Nice.
But so
fun.
Can we talk about the retreat for 2 minutes?
Sure.
What was your favorite part of the retreat?
I like the channeling, but I really like the live that we did because Jody put her face up in the camera and cursed.
I was like, I try not to curse. I try not to put so many.
Yeah, when I look at the video, I'm like, this looks like real life. This doesn't look like people who are staging themselves behind a camera. It's like, this is real life here, right? These are people sitting down in a real room, having a real conversation. And then the channeling was just absolutely amazing. In my eyes, I was like, wow, this is great. And it's real, right? And that's the whole purpose of all of this knowledge that we talk about, is that it's real in our lives. We have to be able to take the knowledge and use it to better ourselves or to make something better in our world or to make us feel better. Right. And that's the beautiful part about this is when I see the videos, I'm just like, I'm so proud of it. 'Cause I'm like,
Yeah.
it's real life.
You were amazing. You were amazing. And everyone who came was amazing. And I can't say like it was perfect in the way that everybody showed up. Exactly what you're saying, Danielle. I'm pretty much echoing it, but being sloppier about it. But it just, we were so authentic. There were people crying. There were people releasing emotions, really like sharing their density with us and their experiences. And once they did that, then somebody else was ready to do that. And we just built this web of trust and love and non-judgment. And it just really was beautiful. And Paige says, I've giggled with you guys on the video of the retreat.
Yeah.
We laughed, we cried, we swore and said sorry.
Yeah. It truly was amazing. And it was a blessing to be a part of it because to me, it's something really special when you have a group of people come together and it's like they just let their walls down. And it's like, okay, now is the moment in my life where I am safe because the practitioners are here and they are making me feel safe for me to release my attachments and to discharge and then sit in the energy of a higher frequency and really feel loved. And that is what it was. And to me, it's like these moments are the moments that I will always remember from my life are the moments where we sit in the small groups in the rooms and it doesn't have to be on a stage. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It's these moments right now in which we make these relationships and friends and we meet new people. I manifested 2 sunshines. You guys all have to know this. It's amazing. In 2019, I did a manifestation that said, I take sunshine with me everywhere I go, or I take a little bit of sunshine with me everywhere I go. And so it was like a year and a half ago, and I manifested a woman in New York, Long Island, named Sunshine. She legally changed her name. Yes. That's one of my good friends. She's part of the treeoflifeorganization.com. So she's on there too. Now at your retreat, a second woman who legally changed her name to Sunshine walks in and she's like, hi, I'm Sunshine. I was like,
of course you are.
How is that possible? So it's epic. It's totally epic to see that. And it was just such divine alignment. I'm like, I'm in the right place at the right time to meet and greet my soul tribe. That is how it felt.
Yeah, it was so nice. So nice.
It was.
Paige says EIEIO.
Yeah.
You want to tell everyone about the EIEIO thing? Because that was funny. I forgot all about that. Thank you for bringing that up, Paige.
I guess the yogi chants, they teach them, you have to sing a certain word to activate each chakra.
Yeah.
And then it's
to get all the frequencies, the hertz or something.
Yes. And it's EIEIO does the same exact thing. O is Om. Right. And it's like, well, we all know this one. Why did we sing that to the kids? Who made that song up? Somebody who knew about the chakra systems and the resonance. And so we take a look, the earth history in my reality. This is only what I see in my world. Whether or not it's in yours is completely up to your frequency. And then the frequencies shift. But in my reality, in the 1800s, they had high technology. They had technology, they had trains, and then they were wiped down a little bit. And so back then, this is why we see different types of architecture. The buildings were more advanced. Certain places, they have fireplaces, and it's not for a fireplace, but it was for a type of free energy that they had in the buildings. And so that's another reason why we see a lot of steeples. Some of the church windows look like sacred geometry, and that's because they had devices in there to pull the ether or the energy device. It's like a Tesla coil. They had electric cars. There's images, photography of all this stuff. There's the mud floods of Tartaria is great. You guys research that too. But once again, that's in my reality. And so whoever made the song EIEIO, they had to have known something. The ancient people.
A lot of that is in childhood stuff. Because they needed to suppress it, they needed to hide it, but they also needed to pass it down. So they put it in like nights and stories and songs, and it was just a kid's song. It's just nothing. And
we think about it. Why did they burn the books And why did they make it so that people couldn't read, and that the only reading was done by a priest? And so it was basically like, if they wanted to push an agenda, you're not allowed to read, burn all the books, and then you can only get your knowledge from this one source. So to me, it's like, I see it, and it's, it's something to think about, because it really triggers us to become the seeker of the knowledge. And the whole point of seeking any type of knowledge like this is to really dive into the history of your timeline. Because the second you dive into Lumerius, Atlantis, we start to pull at strings. I had this amazing download with my friend Charlene come through, and this was, I think it was yesterday, and it was about the knowledge inside of the pyramid, and how but this was deep, and I didn't know this. And it was because I said certain corridors are blocked off because they have the translation of the words on the walls, and maybe they don't want the general population to see the words that are written on the walls. And so the star people were like, well, guess what? When you go inside the pyramid, there's a vortex energetic. And what it's doing is it's blasting up into the human consciousness grid, making all the words on the walls encoded into that frequency, which then activates into the knowledge of all of humanity. So we never lost the knowledge.
You didn't have to go in there. It's coming out anyway.
Have to go to the pyramid, because it's, one, it's quantum entangled, but it's broadcasting all that knowledge directly up. Any of the knowledge in the Sphinx, underneath the Sphinx foot, or a hall of records, the star people are saying, all of that is being broadcast up as a frequency. And so that was what the ancients did to protect us. They encoded the human consciousness grid with all of the knowledge that they had, so that when our psionic abilities became activated, which is bound to happen either way, whether you want it or not, it's going to come for you, because the solar energetics are triggering us through evolution. So when the time is right, we're going to be able to just download all of that knowledge from the human consciousness grid, or we don't even have to wait. We can really dive into a very rapid 5-minute meditation, summon the Great Pyramid. So see it in your mind. How do you see it, or sense it, or feel it? And then thank it for giving you the knowledge download of all of the information it has. Of course, when we first start to do this, it's going to be fragments of knowledge, because it can't give you too much at once. We have to still learn how to do the downloads. But it's kind of like the pyramid is going to send you a packet. And just imagine a packet. It's like an email. And then you have to decompress the file. So, but this is what the star people do when they activate us. They give us all this information, and they're like, great, now it's in your subconscious mind. Now you have to unpack all the information. We can do this. This is an instantaneous download. That's what I'm telling you guys. What I got.
And there's so much information, though. So I have 2 thoughts about that. And the first one is, there shouldn't be any fear about this.
No.
So we've had some people that are talking about the history, and they're talking about the shift, and together they're saying we have to fight the darkness. Look at what they did. They suppressed us. No. Instead of doing that, we're saying, look at what we're finding out.
Yes.
Look at what is being revealed now. This is literally the age of revelation, which is not, it's revelation, it's dark, it's bad times. This is, all of this is being revealed to us. So it's the Akashic records, the halls of Amenti, all of these things, Plato, Sphinx. What do you want to know? And go there and ask. And I know that, like, your book was put in front of me. You were put in front of me. Things about Mary Magdalene, the things that I'm interested or are on my highest and best timeline come up.
Yes.
And
it's beautiful.
But it feels so good.
Yeah. We don't have to fight the darkness. We just have to be the candle in the darkness.
Yes.
And so shine your light and your love. Love does not fight. Love doesn't pick up a sword, right? And so that is how we shine bright. That is how we are the candle. So we call ourselves the Rainbow Warriors, because the rainbow is your rainbow body of light. And in order to be the warrior, you have to activate the rainbow body of light, which must be activated through love. It cannot be activated through darkness. That is a solid fact. That is the reason why no, the star people are cutting that thought pattern off. When we activate the rainbow body of light, that's 5D. That gives us access into basically instantaneous manifestation. And it also removes a part of the 3D reality, because the 3D reality becomes an illusion. It becomes like a dream that we woken up from the second that we tune into 5D. And that dream, it's like when we're first in 5D, they're showing me, you feel like you remember the entire 3D reality, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm a celestial. I remember what it was like to be a celestial. That memory isn't real. It's like I just woke up from a dream, because that's not real. And this is who I really am. That's what it's going to feel like. So there's no fear there. Yeah. So in order to access that realm, we have to drop the fear, which if we start to drop the fear and we do the shadow work, we throw the attachments off. This is what I'm talking about to you guys. We start raising our frequency. You start to talk really, really fast. All of a sudden, your IQ gets a boost. You start remembering everything. That's a process too, because the 5D frequency comes with removing the memory and then instantaneous download. So it looks a little bit different, but that's a process too. And then what happens is it's like you wake up to who you truly are. That is what we're going through. Can you guys feel that when I just told it to you? Because like I felt it. It was like, oh yeah, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. We fight with light, and the light is our best protection. Yes. You know, when people are like, how do you protect yourself? How do you whatever? We don't. Do the shadow work.
We don't protect. We don't. And we shine bright, and then the universe puts us in a higher frequency, and that higher frequency puts us in alignment with the higher frequency, so that we are only in alignment to experience good, positive things. I personally am a witness to this, because I've seen the universe pick me up and tell me it's time for you to go to the ocean and do an Om and stand on the beach and watch the sunset. And as I was doing that, there was drama and turbulence in the location I was in. And then when I was done getting my Zen on, I went back to the location and they're like, you just missed it. That's because I wasn't in alignment with it, because my frequency is more clean, because I've cleaned the attachments and I've done the shadow work. We have to do the shadow work, right? But each and every one of us are gonna go through this process of releasing the shadows. It has to be. It has to.
Yeah. And it might not be easy, but it is possible.
It's not easy.
You know, some people in the comments are saying, you know what, I'm struggling. How am I supposed to do this? Or if you're struggling, you know, it's no one said
get
it would
off
be
and
easy,
go home,
but it's possible. Get off and go home.
I can't do this.
Go to the shadow work Zoom.
Yeah. Yes. Which starts at 8:30, but we're gonna start at 8:40 because we ran late today. So I like to have a little time to walk and such. Excellent. Hey, Little Bird Sanctuary, I see you. That's my friend. She did the Weekend Warrior program. So sometimes I have people, you know, come and hang out with me for the weekend, and we do spiritual stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah, hanging out with you is amazing. It's so fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. So we covered half of this chapter. We can do it again another time.
We'll do it again next time. And so really quickly, I want every person watching, don't leave early. Take a deep breath in and release with a We are now generating a vortex energetic in your location and mine, surrounding each individual with a bright white light, allowing any and all of the attachment doors to be sealed. Excellent. And we are wishing you many, many love and blessings, dear ones. And we just want to say thank you, dear star people, for channeling with us tonight. And thank you so incredibly much for giving us this great, amazing transmission. Excellent. Yay.
Thank you, star people. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, everyone here.
Yes, thank you. Beautiful. I'll see you guys at the Shadow Work Zoom. It's the same exact link. Anybody who needs a link, you guys can send me a message at daniellelipton.com. There's a little contact me. So you can send in an email. We send you a free Zoom link. That's good for every Tuesday, every Thursday. There's no charge. We do this because we're building the community and we want to heal each other, and it's fun. Excellent. So I will see you guys again Thursday, and you have many, many love and blessings. Beautiful.